Hello, I am so excited to be bringing you the Ordinary Bruja on November 1st, 2025. Saying that, I want to have a chat with the readers. So, something that you may not know is that I say two and a half languages. I speak English, Spanish, and a little bit of French. I'm an A2, de in French, when I went to live over there and went to night school. So I hold those languages, but Spanish is dear and near to my heart. That is my mother tongue. That is the one that when I was born was taught to me first. So everything that I say goes through that filter. When I write characters that are like me, that live and breathe into different worlds and mix them as if it's one. And that is the English and the Spanish. And I'm talking about languages, not the countries. And in saying that, as you know, when somebody of Latin American descent comes and lives in the United States and is part of the diaspora, it's almost as if we create our own language, now called Spanglish. And as I do when I create characters and I create stories, but particularly characters, I feed off of my lived experience. I mine them quite a lot. So my characters are like me in a way that they also straddle these two worlds. They're also part of the diaspora. And because of that, when they think and they talk, it is in a mixture of these two languages. Now, here's my disclaimer to you, because I know y'all are going to be picking up the Ordinary Bruja, right? And that's one reason why I put the word Bruja on the cover, because I wanted to key the reader as soon as they see this cover on their bookshelf or on a table in a bookstore, that you will see some Spanish words in this book. And they're going to be known to you either through context or perhaps through you researching it, But one thing that I can say, even from my past readers, is that the Spanglish in my books have never taken them out of the story. They have figured out what it all means while it is there. And a comment that I get, that I used to get before, I also got recently, is why don't you make your foreign words italics? Let me tell you this story. I went through the MFA in Creative Writing program with National University, I want to say 4 to 5 years ago. And I had a conversation with my professor about that. And I remember just being very introspective about that and looking at my paper and my characters speaking Spanglish and mixing Spanish and English in their dialogue and their thoughts. And I was like, my pages are all like this mix of italics and Times New Roman font. And I'm like, this first of all, to me, I thought it looked horrible. That's one. But then besides the superficial, I started thinking a little bit more, and I'm like, why am I making this different from the general text in my page, in my book, in my manuscript? And I'm like, why must it be different? Why can't these words just be part of the page? Just be like the other regular words in here, And this was just, I know I may have gone too deep in it, but I couldn't let go of that thought. And I brought this over to a discussion with the professor. And she explained to me, she was like, how the Chicago Manual, which is the one that we write off of when we're writing fiction books, it says in there that you should make foreign words italics to signal to the reader that, they're going to jump from English into another language. But she was like, but just because it says it should, it doesn't mean you must. So whenever someone tells me like I must, it's kind of like, hold up. That's another reason why I'm an independent author. Because I get to call those shots for my stories and my books. And she explained that to me. And then we had a conversation, and I love the program and the professors in the program because it was so open. Like I felt so safe saying these things without somebody getting defensive or attacking me. And I explained to her, I was like, look, my characters, are like me. I mine my experiences a lot, so these books, these characters have a whole lot of me in them. And just like me, they speak Spanglish. So it's natural for them. So I was like, so I don't want to other that in the page because Spanglish is normal for them. Why must it look different on the page? And she was like, and she thought about it, and I think now in the Chicago manual they have something about that, if I remember correctly, something that says for uh, multi-language characters and authors, right, to represent authenticity or something like that. They don't have to. That's why italics doesn't necessarily come into play, right? But back then, even before that was put on the manual, I was like, no, I don't want to do that for my books. And I'm so happy, that this professor had a conversation with me. She was a white woman, but didn't get defensive, not one bit, as I've experienced before, not within the scholarly realm, but outside in a writing conference. That it just like it really like made people sensitive when they saw my my book, my manuscript, and how Spanglish was there. It was not italicized, and they was like, and I think I got like a barrage of comments over it in this writing conference and recently as well. And like the writing conference, I felt I was very sensitive back then, so I felt pretty much attacked. Not so much in this recent example. Now I understand I'm a little bit more confident in what I know in my writing and in my experience. And I just take it as people who have a set mindset of what writing should be, and they have grown accustomed to that mindset. So they're unwilling or they haven't seen another way of doing something. And here I am showing them a different way through my manuscript. And sometimes that ruffle feathers for people who have always known it to be this way, you know. So I understand that. So I don't really get super intense over it any longer. But I am confident about it, and I'm pretty good with saying this is how my books are, and I don't want to other my characters the way that they are, their culture, the way that they speak, by making words into italics to signal that something is different here when it's not. For them, it's not different. Once you come into the United States from another country, it's almost, and I want to say it's not just in the Spanish language, it's not just in Latin America, you meld, and this is a survival thing, you meld both languages, both cultures together in order to have a little bit of your origin as well as a little bit of this new life that you're now part of. And that is also very natural for us to do when we immigrate or we're born into a household of immigrants, that we don't give it a second thought. It's not something that we plan to do. It's something that happens. You see? So my characters in my books, if you read Mrs. Franchi's Evil Ring, if you read the Alvarez Girls, you're going to see it there. When you read the Ordinary Bruja, the Forgotten Bruja, the Reluctant Bruja, you're going to see it there. And like I said before, that's the reason why I put Bruja on the cover, so it could signal these people that may have a constricted mindset, to know, what, pause. Maybe this book is not for you, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with people that think that way to not pick up my book. Please don't pick up my book. If you feel that foreign language, should look a certain way, if you feel as if, a different language being spoken, it's an other thing, it should be separate from the norm. Don't pick up my book, because then it's going to get you very angry. And I don't want that for you. But you, dear reader, you, my ideal reader, I know that you will understand. I know that sin tatarabuelo, that sin mija, that sin mi pollito Marisol will not bother you. And I know that you will find a way to love this book because you don't feel I don't know why I'm crying. You won't see differences as having to be excluded. And because of that, I think you'll be the perfect reader. Sometimes it's so much more than italics. Sometimes it's about wanting to change the perception of othering, even on a page. Because when I had that thought many years ago, and I got stuck on that thought, I couldn't let go of the fact that if we other it on the page, we're gonna other it in real life. And I didn't want it to add to that. Back then, this was back in 2020. And to this day, I still stand by that, even if the Chicago manual says you must instead of you should. I still stand by that. I will continue to not make my Spanglish words or Spanish words italics. I will not. They're just as normal or as regular as the other words on the page. And I will keep them that way. I already make thoughts italics. I think that's enough. So the Ordinary Bruja will be out November 1st. And if you are that ideal reader, pick it up. God, I hate crying. If you know me in real life, you know I hate crying, but I do it because I get very emotional sometimes. This is not meant to be marketing. So I want to tell you, don't pick up the book because you feel sorry for me. You're not my ideal reader either, okay? I want you to pick up the book because it's something that interests you. And Spanglish or Spanish words don't make you defensive. That's the reason why I want you to pick up this book, The Ordinary Bruja. And also because you want to read from outside your culture, or if you're within that culture, you want to feel seen. That's why I want you to pick up the book. I had a strong reaction to this because of everything that is going on and how immigrants are being demonized right now, and just speaking Spanish set people apart. And it has become like this thing, where you're being targeted because of the way that you look, of how you speak, of your accent. And while that was not in my purview, not that exactly in 2020, in 2019, other things were in my purview. And I knew, like I said in this video, that I did not want to add to othering human beings' differences, not even on the page of a book, because I feel that it already happens a lot in real life, and I don't want to add to it, regardless of whether it's in a manual or not. And when you compile that thought, that belief that I had back then, that I still hold on to this day, and everything that's happening, right, with people that are essentially different, it just, in my mind, it all came to head, and it exploded in a big emotion that was crying, But I hate crying. I have a headache right now. I'm going to go take some Tylenol so that way I can go to work. But please, don't pick it up just because you feel sorry for me. That is not the right reason to pick up this book. Okay, I'll leave my website in there. Read the blurb, see if this is something that you'll be into, or if you know somebody that will be into, share it with them. Okay, I want my stories to be seen by those who want to read them, and I hope you can help me with that.